And welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Before we get into today's show, please do me a small favour. If this is your first time watching today, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Bottom right hand corner, we are now only one subscriber away from 41k, so please go and do that if you haven't already. And let's get straight on into the show. So the starting topic for today is going to be about the goalkeeper situation, because I do think that this deserves some airtime, and I want to know your thoughts on the goalkeeper situation at Manchester United. Should we stick with Onana for another season, or do you think the writing is on the wall? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. If you think he should be replaced, who should we be replacing him with? The reason we talk about this is because there was a big story that broke yesterday from multiple different people, Manchester Evening News, other journalists in the UK as well, saying that apparently Ruben Amorim wants to bring in a new goalkeeper in the summer. And I would agree with this entirely. I think that you can sign as many outfield players as you want. You know, you could get yourself an Osimhen, you could get yourself Edison from Atalanta, you could get Giovanni Kenda. You can get all of these players, great. But whilst you've still got Onana in goal, the only way you're going to win football matches is by outscoring the opponents. Now, I know that sounds a little bit obvious because the whole point of a football match is to outscore the opponent, isn't it? But it's the age-old cliche that effectively Premier League titles are won on your defence, really, if you think about it. You know, if you have a solid defence and you're not conceding goals, then you can get away with just scoring one goal in a game or maybe two, you know? But if it's like a basketball match, which it is for Manchester United, and you've got a goalkeeper who makes mistakes every single game, you could have, you know, a ridiculous outfield team, but as long as you've still got him in goal, you're still going to have problems. So let's bring you up the story. Let me bring you this. So this is coming from Samuel Lutkers this morning. He's saying that Ruben Amorim wants to sign a new goalkeeper, but Onana considers United to be the only club he wishes to play for. And we did a bit of digging on this as to why Onana doesn't want to leave Manchester United. So when he played for Inter Milan and was in the Champions League, got to a Champions League final, Andre Onana earned £60,000 per week at Inter Milan in a team in the Champions League who got to the final, right? He joins Manchester United, who at that point were, when was it? Last summer. We were in the Champions League, to be fair, but still, he joined the summer before last. Manchester United have given Onana 120 grand a week base salary, plus an additional 80,000 a week in bonuses. The bonuses of things like clean sheets, if the team win. So he can earn as much as 200,000 a week being the Manchester United goalkeeper, which is over 3 times the amount that he was earning at Inter Milan. So no wonder he doesn't want to go anywhere. He's comfortable. Altay Bayındır isn't really competing with him. He plays the odd cup game and is actually injured now. Even if he makes a mistake, he still gets picked because there's nobody else to compete with him. And I know there seems to be this kind of theory in the fan base that, oh, Altay Bayındır deserves a chance. He's better than him. I don't think we can say that for sure. Like, the only time that we've really seen anything positive from Altay Bayındır was against Arsenal in that FA Cup match. For the first 60 minutes of that game, he was awful. And then the final 30 in the penalty shootout, he was a hero. So for us to sit here and say, oh, Bayındır is better, I just don't believe it. I don't think either of them are good enough, to be honest. And my stance on this is the same. I think Onana is going to be incredibly difficult to sell, mainly because of his wages. No one's going to pay him 120 grand a week unless you sell him to Saudi, and he's not going to go to Saudi, I don't think, at the age of 28. And that then means that the only real option that we have is to sell Altay Bayındır. He's valued at somewhere around 10 million. We know that clubs in Turkey would be interested in bringing him back there. We also know that Tom Heaton, the third choice goalkeeper, we know that his contract expires in the summer. So there is a clear path to let 2 goalkeepers go this summer. Obviously, Tom Heaton will 100% go. His contract's up. He's on nearly 50,000 a week. And Altay Bayındır definitely is sellable, definitely has a resale value. And we may even, I mean, this might be pushing it a little bit, but we may even be able to make a little bit of a profit on Altay Bayındır because we didn't actually pay that much for him. I think we paid, let me just double check. Yeah, we only paid 4.3 million for him, as far as I can see. Let me just check. Yeah, 4.3 million we paid for outside Bayinda. And obviously, like every transfer, that will be spread over the 5 years of his contract. So we have paid the fees in euros here. So it's 5 million euros. By the time the summer comes round, we'll only have, I think, 4 million left on his amortization. So if we sold him for anything more than 4 million, that would be profit. So if we sold him for 8, that would be 4 million profit. If we sold him for 10, that would be 6 million, etc. So you can kind of see where the money's going to come from. 2 players leaving, 2 wages off the book, bringing in a new goalkeeper. There's been some mention of James Trafford from Burnley. There's also been some mention of bringing back, obviously Radek Vitek is our goalkeeper. Maybe he comes back as the third choice. And there is even some murmurs saying that Manchester United are considering bringing back Matej Kovar, who is the backup goalkeeper now at Bayern Leverkusen. Hasn't really had that much game time, to be fair. He's played in the Champions League for them, but in the Bundesliga, he's not really featured that much. But can he be any worse than Onana? I mean, he probably could, to be fair, but I would personally do something. I think it's an area of the pitch that desperately needs addressing, because at the end of the day, right, whilst you've got Onana in goal, the rest of the defence look shaky. They don't look confident. They make bad decisions. And we brought Onana in because he was a ball-playing goalkeeper. And this is going to be maybe controversial, what I'm about to say, but do we actually think Onana is better with the ball than De Gea? I don't think so. 9 times out of 10, when Onana has the ball, he kicks the ball long. That was exactly the same as what De Gea used to do. We don't really build up from the back that well, I don't think. We saw that the other day, didn't we, in that goal against, who was it against? The one where Patrick Dorgu and Onana made the error. You know, that was like what a Man City or a team like that would be able to do perfectly well, and it was an absolute disaster. So, yeah, I don't think that Onana is any better with the ball than De Gea is, to be honest. Maybe he's less confident, I don't know. But at least De Gea was one of the best shot stoppers in the world, I think. And the other thing as well is, right, a lot of people used to criticise De Gea's physicality, and they used to say that he doesn't come for crosses. Onana's even worse than De Gea at doing that. I mean, Onana's much bigger, right? And De Gea was very skinny, wasn't he, when he first joined Manchester United? Whereas Onana's got a bit of a bigger build than De Gea. But still, he doesn't command his area. He doesn't come for the ball. And the amount of goals we've scored from set pieces and corners where he's not been commanding his box is absolutely crazy. So we've effectively got rid of a better goalkeeper and then paid 50 million for a worse one and given him a massive contract. I mean, it's a disaster, absolute disaster. Again, poor recruitment, poor identifying of talent. And he's just not a Manchester United goalkeeper. The same with Højlund, you know, he's not a Manchester United level striker, and Onana is not a Manchester United level goalkeeper. You know, when you look at some of the greats we've had, the Schmeichels, you know, those types of players, the Van der Sars, like, he wouldn't even lace his boots. Whereas De Gea, I think, would lace their boots. You know, I'm not saying he's as good as them, but he would at least be in the conversation. Yeah, so that's my take on that. But let me know what you guys think about this one. Interested to see what you all think. Let's see. Let me just have a little sip of my tea. Right, what have we got here? And as well, right, I can see people in the chat being like, well, De Gea was on 350 grand a week. We worked this out the other day on the show, right? So let's just say, for argument's sake, that De Gea stayed for 5 years. That's the length of Onana's contract, okay? Just for the people who want to be upset about it. So say Manchester United did give De Gea a new contract for 5 years, okay? That would be worth 18 million a season. Times that by 5, that would be 90 million over five years, which is obviously a lot of money. I'm not disagreeing with that. So it'd be 90 million for 5 years. And then Onana is on 120 grand a week over 5 years. But we also paid a 50 million transfer fee, and he's also got bonuses on his contract. I mean, the point I'm making is bringing in Onana and giving him a 5-year deal and paying the transfer fee has cost us more than what it would have cost to keep De Gea. So it wasn't like a cheaper option, really. It was a more expensive option. And if I said to you, De Gea goes and we have to pay more money to bring in Onana, I think you'd all have kept De Gea, wouldn't you? Ant says De Gea did not need to be replaced at that time. We had bigger issues. I agree. I agree. Somebody says, I don't understand why we play Onana. I mean, the only reason that Onana's getting picked is because Bayinder's injured. There isn't any other option. If Onana makes a horrible mistake, there's nobody breathing down his neck to take his place. And that's never good in a football club. You know, you need competition. You need players to know that that if they're not performing, there's somebody else there who can help them out. Whereas at the moment, I don't know what's actually wrong with Binder. I don't know if anybody knows. Let's have a look. Does anybody know about Binder? I'm just trying to find out. It just says unknown injury. Just trying to see if I can find any news about this because I've not. There's no like. It just says that he's injured. It doesn't say what's wrong with him. If anybody knows what's wrong with Binder, do let me know in the live chat or in the comment section because I can't see any information about it anywhere. Like on the website where I look at all the injuries, it just says that he's missed 5 games through an unknown injury, which is quite strange, really. And I don't think Ruben Amorim's been asked about it. Yeah, I don't know. Let me have a look if anybody in the chat knows. I can't see. Anyway, let's move on from that. Let's move over to this story about Chido-Obi Martin. I mean, this is another massive screw up by Manchester United. So the story is that apparently Chido-Obi will not be available for any of the Europa League games because Manchester United failed to register him in time. Aiden Heaven and Dorgu have been registered. So we're going into the remaining games of the Europa League with no attackers on the bench. Ahmad's injured. So our only attack will be Garnacho, Højlund, and Xerxes. That's it. So even if those 3 play every minute, what happens when we need to make substitutions? What happens when they're tired? Hopefully, I don't think I've missed anybody out. Let me know if I've missed somebody out, but I can't think of any other players who I've missed. Strange. I don't know how they managed to do that, how they managed to not register him in time, and now that means that he won't be. So we won't see Chido-Obi on Thursday. We won't see him in any of the games now for the rest of the Europa League campaign. So the team that we'll have is literally pretty much the team that we had on the weekend, minus Chido-Obi. Let's have a look at what attackers we've got. So the attack the other day was Højlund, Xerxes, and Eriksen, which I don't think worked at all, to be honest. And then on the bench, you had Chido-Obi, who obviously won't be there, Garnacho, and that's it. Yeah, so I was right. So I imagine that Garnacho will start over Eriksen in the next game. So your bench will just be youth players. There won't be any. I don't know if there's any attacking. I don't even know if there'll be any attacking youth players on the bench either. Yeah, it's a proper mess up for Manchester United, that, because that would have been such valuable experience for Chido-Obi. Obviously, it's good that Aiden Heaven's in the squad, but we do actually have a fair few centre backs at the moment. Obviously, we've got Yoro, De Ligt, Maguire, Lindelof, Aiden Heaven. Casemiro can play at centre back at a push. Dalot can play as a left-sided centre back. Mazraoui can play as a right-sided centre back. So we've got we've got 8 players who can play as centre back, right? But then we've only got 1 holding midfielder, unless you include Casemiro, which I don't really. And then we've only got 3 attacking players. And then the rest of our bench is literally just youth players. So, yeah, it's frustrating. And it is a bombshell because I thought Chido-Obi looked promising in that game against Fulham the other day. Obviously, he's still very raw. He's only 17 years of age, but he did look like a talent. And he did look like he had heaps of potential. And I don't want to be toxic, but I'm just going to give my opinion. I think Chido-Obi showed me more in that 60-minute cameo than Højlund showed me in the last 3 months. Would you agree? I don't even think that is controversial. I think most of you in the chat would agree with that. Højlund hasn't scored in, I think it's like 20 games or something. Chido-Obi Martin looked more like scoring the other day than Højlund has at any point this season. And this whole narrative that we don't create chances and that our strikers don't get the ball in the box. I mean, Chido had a couple of good chances to score. So this whole narrative that, you know, our strikers don't get chances, I don't think that's very fair, because we are creating chances now. I think we had 20 shots in that game against Fulham, and we had 2.5 XG. And we only scored 1 goal. So we were creating chances. We just didn't finish them, as always. So, yeah, a little bit frustrating about that, because I would have loved to see Chido get some more game time. But, yeah, there's not really too much we can do, obviously. If he wasn't registered, he wasn't registered. So, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Antony then, shall we? So there is a story coming out this morning about Real Betis, that apparently Real Betis have now opened talks with Manchester United to secure Antony on a permanent deal. You ready for this? Real Betis have apparently offered Manchester United, drumroll, 20 to 25 million euros. Manchester United are asking for at least 40 to 50 million euros. The thing is, right, Real Betis are a recipe of their own making. Because if you go on their Twitter at the moment, they're just constantly posting pictures of Antony. They're posting pictures of Antony and Messi saying, like, who's the real GOAT and all that. You know, like, they're really, really building him up here. And he has done well at Real Betis, to be fair. But for them to then come to us and say, we'll give you 20 million euros after we paid 95, I mean, it's not going to pass, is it? Because the thing we have to remember is, because of PSR, because of amortization, even if Manchester United make a loss in the big picture, they'll want to at least break even on amortization. Otherwise, selling him's pointless. You may as well just loan him. So the easiest way to look at this, he joined Manchester United in 2022. So they've been here for 3 years in the summer. So if we do, how you work out amortization, by the way, if anybody's interested for the future, is this. So the maximum time you can spread a transfer out on your books is 5 years. So in the relation to Antony, in this example, he was 95 million euros, okay? And by the time we look to sell him, which will be in the summer, he'll have been here for 3 years. So what you do is you get the transfer fee, which is 95 million euros, divide it by 5 years, which is the maximum amount of time. That gives you the amortization figure per year. So each year on our books, Antony's costing us 19 million euros. So by the time the summer comes round, 57 million euros will be accounted for. So what you do then, you do 95, which is the overall transfer fee, million, minus 57, which leaves you 38 million euros. So we need at least 38 million euros, and then in relation to this calendar year, we'll have made a profit, if that makes sense. Obviously, overall, we'll have lost money, but in relation to amortization, it means we'll make money. So I can see why United are asking for 40 to 50, because otherwise they may as well keep him. So yeah, that's definitely one to keep an eye on for the summer. I think, you know, if we were able to get 40 million for him, I'd be happy. But it just all depends whether, I don't know what it depends on. Apparently there are multiple clubs interested in Antony, though. It's not just Real Betis. So we just have to hope that he continues to perform for Betis. Hope that they go a long way in the Conference League. And yeah, we'll see what happens. So apparently Real Betis, Juventus, and 2 Saudi clubs are interested in signing Antony. I personally can't see Real Betis having the money to be able to do it. Like, what's their biggest ever transfer? Let's have a little look. So Real Betis' biggest transfer in their whole history is... Where are we? Why is it not letting me do it? Top arrivals. All seasons. 1 second, I'm just trying to get the figure up for you. So their biggest ever transfer fee was in 1998. and they paid 30 million euros for Danielson. Their biggest recent transfer was for Borja Iglesias. I don't know how to say that. For 28 million euros. They also signed Giovanni Lo Celso in 2020 for 22 million. So it's around 20 to 30 million is their biggest transfer. And they've apparently offered around 20 million for Antony, which is a joke. Like, I would rather just keep Antony because, as I said to you, it only makes sense selling Antony if we can get more than 38 million euros, because otherwise it will mean a loss on our books, which will mean we can spend less this summer, you know? So yeah, that's my take on that. But you can let me know on everything we've discussed on the show today. I am going to wrap up the video here. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a lovely, lovely day, everybody, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow morning. Bye for now.